This space has a large pipe running along the length of its ceiling, and we boxed it in with a bulkhead, using no studs or drywall. If you want to see how we did it, then let's get into the build. After finding a free pool table on Facebook Marketplace, we decided to turn this area into a billiard room. If you want to see the full build on that, you can check out the link in the description below. However, this pipe running along the length of the space is quite an eyesore, and we wanted to box it in with a bulkhead. But first we needed to prep our space. We had to add this wall and then paint the rest of our walls a deep navy. We didn't want to use any drywall or studs and wanted to make this as simple as possible while also still allowing us to mount pot lights underneath to illuminate the space. First, we had to take detailed measurements of our wall to ensure that we can account for any abnormalities or objects that we're going to have on the wall. In our space specifically, we have a pillar that's slightly off-center to the right, and we're also going to have a dartboard to the left, which means that we need one pot light centered directly above it for proper visibility. Understanding this, we need to sort out our pot light spacing. The tricky part is that if we evenly space our pot lights, then we end up with our middle pot light off-center of the pillar and our left light off-center of the dartboard. This also means that the light on the right is way too close to the wall. Since the pillar is one of the main focal points of the wall, we've decided to space the lights evenly based on the center pillar rather than the full length of the wall. After testing out a couple different spacing options, it seems that having our pot lights at 57 centimeters apart on center is the best for our space. Because our material comes in 1 meter lengths, we can make ourselves a jig to make this easier. We know that we want our lights 57 centimeters on center from the right edge of the styrofoam, and we also know that this circle is 15 centimeters out from the edge of the template. That means that we need something of 42 centimeters to butt up against the edge of the template and line up with the edge of the styrofoam. Then we'll glue our 42 centimeter piece to a longer piece, that way we have some way to attach this long piece to our circular template. So now we've got one moving piece that allows us to easily replicate all of our cuts on each panel. This top side is specified as the wall side because this circle actually isn't center in the width of our material, and that's because we have to accommodate for a 4 centimeter material thickness that will be the front face of the bulkhead. So to put this template to use, first we'll trace the inner ring and cut out its center. This inner ring is the diameter of our pot lights. Then we'll take a router and use the outer ring as a guide to cut out a lip. This lip will allow a flat MDF disc to sit flush with the top of the styrofoam, and this serves as an attachment point for our pot lights. These discs will then get attached with polyurethane spray foam adhesive and then left to cure. Once the adhesive is dried, it's time to texturize our panels. We'll be using a sand textured paint which will match the texture of the walls in the original space. Once textured, we can go over and paint them with 2 coats of navy, and this makes touching up the navy paint later on much easier. And with everything dry, it's time for installation.
This is the bottom surface of our bulkhead, and the idea is that we are going to use spray foam adhesive along this surface here and tack it upwards. And then we'll take the front face of our bulkhead and place it at a true 90. That way we've got a finished surface both on the front and the bottom.
We pray for the best.
This spray foam adhesive is pretty tacky right off the bat, but because we're gluing against gravity, it's better to hold it for longer. This third panel was a little bit tricky because we had to accommodate not only for the pillar but also that little outdent on the left there. So we cut out the notch for our pillar and then a half thickness notch for that outdent on the left. We also unexpectedly had to shave off just a little bit on the back side and the right side. That's so that it would fit flat against the adjacent piece and flush against the wall.
Let's go into the notch of this so I can get it on my angle. Let's go.
Oh, okay.
You can almost reach it. You can almost reach it. Knock yourself out. On the other side. Get in there. Alright, very good.
On the day we cut and painted all of our material, I accidentally mismeasured one piece, so we had to use scrap material to make up the difference.
See from my angle if that's level.
Right.
What is that?
Huh. I just ruined the pool cover. Hey, we haven't ruined the pool cover yet.
Small victories. So the bottom surface of the bulkheads are done. On the left is a scrap piece that we put in, which needs to be texture painted and then painted navy. And then we need to go through and caulk all of the seams between the panels, texture paint and then paint navy. And anywhere where the adhesive foam touched the wall will have to be touched up and repainted, of course. And then before we can put the front face on the bulkhead, we need to install the pot lights.
So we've got a bunch of wire here that we've connected up with connectors. We're going to drop it in through the holes and then connect our pot lights to it.
We weren't able to locally source any black pot lights, they only came in white or chrome, so we had to go through and disassemble all of them, sand down the metal, paint it with a metal safe spray paint, and then reassemble them all. The MDF discs we put in the styrofoam panels earlier on serve as the attachment point for the pot lights, and this is because our pot lights have two spring arms on the backside, and the styrofoam would not be able to withstand the force of the spring.
Stylish.
With the pot lights wired and in place, we can move on to installing the front face of the bulkhead.
Alright, well on the next piece,
To attach these panels, we made sure there was spray foam adhesive on the front surface of the bottom panels, as well as the top surface of the front panels to touch the ceiling. We also placed adhesive on the right side of each panel, that way when they're all put together, there's adhesive in each seam. Next, we have to caulk all of the seams between each panel as well as the panels on the front face, and once all of that is dry, we can go back through and paint. Because this navy paint was purchased only a couple days ago and it's been mixed multiple times since then, it's okay to touch up just the areas where the caulking is instead of repainting the whole thing, as it won't look patchy.
okay, cross your fingers and wish me luck. I think it looks better higher.
Okay, do that. You're right.
You did a terrible job.
You see this patch of paint here? Well, that was me trying to paint over where the spray adhesive touched the wall, and it dried like this. So we had to go back through and retexturize that part of the wall, paint it over navy with 2 coats, and once it was dry, it was seamless. With everything done and all the paint dry, here's the final result.